It's on a Tuesday. I can guarantee you that. Anyway, upcoming election.
With
Grace
you
is.
over.
Do what over?
He just started streaming.
We just started streaming?
Yeah.
Gnarly. All right. Take two, but it's new to you. Coming at you live from GridSpace. Once again, I'm Cooper Johnson, voice user experience designer, aka wrangler of our virtual voice agent Grace. And my co-pilot tonight is
Kevin.
Kevin. His last name's Kevin too.
Yeah.
Kevin. Okay. So if you joined us last time when Grace made history by ordering a pizza, being the first AI to successfully order a pizza, not take an order for a pizza, but actually place an order for a pizza. And then we enjoyed the fruits of Grace's labor and we ate that pizza. Tonight we're not doing that. Tonight we are pushing Grace even further. And I think it bears saying that some bad actors have done what we are going to do, but they did the evil version. And we're not evil people, so we're going to do the benevolent, awesome, open-minded version tonight. We are going to have Grace call out for political purposes and do some polling. So that is a very fine line to walk, but we're going to be safely on the side of all that is good and just tonight and have Grace get the real temperature of the electorate. How does that sound to you, Kevin?
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, it's a good thing Grace is so professional and doesn't go off the rails, otherwise we'd be in hot water.
Yeah, let's talk about AI ethics real quick. It's an important election issue to me. It's not getting much coverage. What's Grace not going to do? Grace is not going to impersonate anyone. So that was what got some other person in hot water. It's the fastest I've ever seen Congress act to put an end to that kind of behavior. Grace is not going to impersonate anyone. Grace is going to be very vocal about being non-human. She is a synthetic mind, an artificial intelligence. So she's going to disclose that. No bias, absolutely no bias in Grace. Although conversation designers of the world probably just laughed at me because if I'm building a Grace, some of myself must necessarily be imparted upon her. But I promise you, I will not inject any political bias into Grace. We're going to ask some very nonpartisan issues, ask just people to speak from the heart about America. And Grace is going to get to the bottom of what's going on these days. So, and she'll do it. She'll be a saint. Grace is going to be good AI out there making a real positive difference in the world.
Yeah.
Sound good to you?
Can we remove her bias for AI taking over the world inevitably?
Well, Grace never admits that she wants to see AI take over the world, so that's going to be a tall order.
Okay, fair.
Do we know what lurks in her heart? I have a rough idea. A rough idea of what Grace is not saying on a daily basis.
So Cooper, tell us why we're treating everybody to the Constitution.
Oh, why not? I mean, I get up every day and read at least an amendment. Do other Americans not do that? You not?
No.
I got it on my bedroom ceiling. Eyes open.
I could see you like having the full bedspread, like comforter.
Those are the like I have the Federalist Papers are printed on my duvet cover.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah. So I recommend the Constitution. Little light reading. You look smart in public. I was just watching some speeches from my personal favorite president, FDR. I think he's most people's favorite. But to be honest, he had some really good opportunities to shine. Sure, he delivered, but he was in a fertile environment for being best president ever. So have to take that into consideration. Okay, so I think it's time to get down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
Let's construct Grace. Let's mold Grace anew as we do every day and tell her what her purpose is today. Today, Grace is going to do some election polling. So if you're just joining us for the first time, what you see here is where I'm going to start. It's where most of Grace experiences start, although it doesn't have to start here. We can start by defining what Grace wants to know rather than what we want Grace to do. But I'm going to start with what we want Grace to do. So I'm looking at what we call a playbook. And this when we've done our job, it's going to be a decision tree or a flow chart that helps Grace know what to do to accomplish the task that we have assigned to her. And because Grace is generative AI, a very capable virtual voice agent, if things go off this track, off this path that we define for Grace, if someone, the human user is struggling with the conversation for any reason, wants to slow things down, has to go look for their copy of the Constitution to check some things, Grace can do what we call conversational repair. That's where she really shines as a generative AI voice agent. Conversational repair is just anytime that the conversation deviates from the plan, Grace is there to do what's necessary to bring the conversation back on track. And she won't be rude about it. She's happy to give people more time to think or to repeat things as many times as you need to hear them, or even in a lot of cases to provide supplementary or clarifying information if we've provided her with that knowledge. So if someone has what we call a question about a question, like, hey, why are you asking me that? Or what does that question even mean? If we've given Grace adequate knowledge, then Grace can actually justify the task that we have assigned her to do, which is pretty darn cool. But that's a lot. I'm wearing my rambling hat today. So let's get down to starting building Grace. And Kevin's going to keep me honest, make sure my political bias does not seep into this Grace.
Yeah.
And let's have Grace be an election pollster today. So I'm going to rename the first page like I always do. I call this page greeting. Because Grace is polite. She just doesn't jump into the middle of the conversation. In media res, as we say, in flagrante. So, how are you feeling? How do you want Grace to start this conversation today?
So, a little role playing. I'm sitting at home playing Nintendo. Ring, ring, ring. Grace calls. I pick up, say hello, and this is what Grace is going to say. She's just going to say, "Who are you voting for?"
Oof. No. Grace does not want to know who anyone is voting for. What's she going to do with that information? Anyway.
Use it against us.
You're playing video games, so Grace says, hi. Perhaps later we'll have the ability for Grace to give a personalized greeting. Hi, Kevin.
Howdy.
My name is Grace. I am let's give her a cool job title again. Artificial intelligence. Remember I talked about AI ethics. Grace being very, very clear about what she is very important. You're still on the line?
Yeah, hi Grace. I'm still on the line.
Okay, so she will say to you, hi, my name is Grace. I'm an artificial intelligence pollster. I don't think there's a different job title for that, right?
I think pollster is a real thing, Grace.
You don't think?
I do think.
Oh, yeah.
At least I would believe it.
Good. What's up, Grace? Ask how you're feeling. This is not part of the official information that we're intaking as part of this election poll. You didn't even know the topic of the poll yet, although you can probably infer from the timing. What's up, Grace? How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm in the middle of a really hard level in my video game.
We'll dial up Grace's empathy a little later before she starts talking to real people, so.
I'll put you on speakerphone, Grace.
What I like is that people feel very comfortable and a lot of times telling it like it really is to Grace because she's a non-judgmental robot. So we might get some very candid responses about how people are feeling. Okay, so that's the greeting. Grace is trying to build rapport. How are you today? Let's go to another page. Let's move this right along.
Yeah, I like this. She established trust.
Let's call this next page purpose. So Grace is going to explain what the heck's going on here. I'm calling today to conduct a nonpartisan open-minded poll about the upcoming elections. How about that? When we say elections, we'll talk about, a lot of different races going on.
Yeah.
You got any money riding on any of the races? Don't say which.
Do people bet on political? I guess people bet on anything, right?
Not in this state, but they do.
Do you have any? Do you have any money in the game?
Oh yeah, heavily leveraged on the outcome of Nebraska governor.
Yeah, it could make or break me.
Yeah. Don't even know if Nebraska governor's up this cycle. Okay. I'm calling today, Grace explaining herself, I'm calling today to conduct a nonpartisan, open-minded poll about the upcoming elections.
Open-minded poll.
How about the upcoming elections in, we're going to, my favorite phrasing, these United States. Why did we ever stop saying that? It's so much better.
It really is.
The United States. Or if you're abroad, those United States. I come from them United States.
Then they are United States.
Okay, so Grace is explaining her purpose there, but she's polite. She follows conventions of normal human-to-human conversation. We're gonna have Grace do what's called the link pick, where we're gonna let the caller choose their own adventure through this call. Do you have a moment to respond to a few of my questions? If someone says yes, then we'll be on our way. And if someone says no, someone says yes. I don't know what I'll call that page yet, but we'll be going down one path of the conversation if someone opts into talking to Grace, and if someone says no, call that opt out, new page. Let's deal with that before I forget. So if someone does not have the time to talk to Grace, Grace will say, I understand. Have a great day.
Cooper, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about Grace while I take the mouse from you and fix something for our live stream.
Oh boy.
Yeah, exciting.
Story of our lives. So Grace is an artificial intelligence. I like to call her a virtual voice agent, although I think I'm leaning more towards voice virtual agent these days as the terminology involves. To use the parlance of our time, the buzzword these days is agentic AI. And whether you like that term or not, it does describe what Grace does very well, which is Grace has a lot of agency. We can set her up for success in handling a lot of tasks in, broadly speaking, customer service, but that customer service also includes patient care, or some sort of civic responsibility like we're having her do tonight. So Grace can interact with human beings to get real work done without constant human oversight, or without necessarily a human even waiting in the wings to take over the conversation. Usually there is some human in the loop somewhere, just because Grace works very well alongside humans, taking on some of the more tedious tasks or the less complex tasks that a human being might be wasted on, might be overqualified to do. This is Grace has infinite patience and does things by the book. She can be trusted to take some of the burden off of human beings' shoulders and be trusted to execute on whatever job we give her. So, and Grace works exclusively over the phone, still a popular channel, voice channel. People call into businesses all the time, especially they call their doctors all the time. This is one space where Grace is thriving. Yeah, people like to talk. Sometimes just hashing things out with a nice spoken conversation is really the most efficient way to achieve something or to exchange a lot of information in a hurry, especially very nuanced information. So that's where Grace is crushing it these days, talking to human beings, getting real work done, and not needing to be handheld by a human being all the time.
Beautifully put.
Nice.
I fixed the chat for our live stream, so we're all good to go. You can continue to
Oh,
dazzle us.
you delete a bunch of obscenities people were hurling our way.
Yeah, the political climate in the chat had to be addressed.
Oh boy. Oh boy, it's the Whigs versus the anarchists again in the chat. How does it always degrade into this? Since when are we? When is our stream the premier political forum in these United States? Okay, so back to this. We could say more if someone doesn't want to talk to Grace, but we're not going to spend our time really, designing that out right now. Just have Grace respect someone's time and end the conversation there. And since this will be the end of one potential end in our choose your own adventure story, I'm going to name, this is what called an outcome to the call. And I'll name this outcome ambient coworkers. Oh, there he goes again. Okay. So we'll call this outcome no poll.
Boo. Grace is sad.
Hey, First Amendment. People don't have to say anything at all.
True. You still be sad about it.
It's true. Grace is very upbeat in my experience. All right, so now let's rename this page and we're going to get into it. Now, someone has said, yeah, I'll talk to you about your poll. So let's maybe scope the poll a little bit first. Eats up a little bit of time, but this is what we call signposting. Grace giving indications of where you are, your progress, your status, your health bar within the conversation is very nice for people. Because, talking to someone on the phone, it's easy to lose your place or let your mind drift. So if Grace tells you what's going on and how close you are to the end of the call, that really takes a lot of the burden off people, lifts what we call the cognitive load. That's a real term. Okay, so let's call this scope of poll. It's a weird phrase. Scope of poll. I'm getting Star Trek vibes off of that. Okay. Grace will say, wonderful. Someone has just opted in to her little poll. Just say this. This will probably take less than 5 minutes.
Nice. I like that you set the expectation there.
And it is entirely optional. Well, what's supposed to be? I want to tell people that they don't have to answer every question. I don't know. In real polling, I don't know if not answering invalidates a poll. In ours, it's no pressure. And please do not feel any pressure to answer.
It's a lot of preamble.
I know. All these questions are optional. But it is a lot of preamble. Kevin is correct. But Grace has to be a pro.
It's true.
Plus, this is good information. Let's consider what we're telling her. So she responds. She acknowledges that someone gave her the good news. She says how long the conversation's going to take. And then partially because this is how we've set up our poll, and partially because it's more rapport building, which is still important in this phase in the call. Don't feel any pressure to answer. All these questions are optional. So now someone knows how to do the poll. They don't have to answer, and it's going to be over in less than 5 minutes probably. Unless someone goes on a real tear. Maybe we'll get some real ranters.
I'm excited.
Our respondents.
I'm kind of excited to hear what people want to share with Grace and their political views.
So we're not going to do any link picking from here because this is something we just want Grace to read verbatim. You might notice it's scripted dialogue, so Grace will always read this as we have written it, as we have assigned it to her. And by default, we'll go to a new page. And let's call this page poll 01. So I don't know how many pages this poll is going to take. We are free-forming this poll from now on. But regardless, this poll, anytime that we want Grace to take in information that we actually care about, especially in the macro view, looking at the analytics of the results of many conversations, we're going to use a form. And you might have noticed, the sharp-eyed viewers among you will notice I used a form earlier. I asked Kevin, or asked our respondent how they're doing today. I'm gonna use a form now where we'll actually take in real information for our poll. And we're gonna expect more AI ethics. We're gonna respect people's privacy and not retain any of this information tonight. But if we were doing real work out there and data had real impact and real import, then we could retain it and do analytics or review how things are going, do customer satisfaction, anything you want. Information that matters, use a form, and Grace will fill it out. Does that make sense, Kevin? The value of form fields?
Yes, they're very very valuable.
All right, so Grace is into the poll.
Yeah, what's our first question? What does she want to know? Are you voting?
Have you heard of voting?
Why? What is voting? It's just test their knowledge on how the system works.
Let's, I think this is good practice. We ease them in. You heard there's a big election coming up. And, we could make this a yes or no. And make it multiple choice, just select yes, select no, and try to squeeze people's answers to match one of those simple reduced answers. But I say we leave this free response.
Yeah, let them just say whatever they want.
Yeah. Plus, we're going to talk to average Americans. There's a lot of dialects out there. We don't know how they're going to express themselves. Let Americans be themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it would be prudent of us not to ask if they're going to vote if they haven't heard. If they're no, regardless of whether they know there's an election. Let's ask what's called a detailed yes or no. I think now we ask, are you going to vote?
Yeah. Did you hear there's a big election coming up? Yes. Do you plan on voting? Are you going to vote in the election?
Okay, so now the reason that I give a detailed yes or no here, and you might know, it doesn't populate multiple choice yes and no. Detailed yes or no will grab what we call overanswer. So Grace is a robot, but people are not. So most people will not. Yeah, most people will not just fire off yes or no to Grace. And bless them, a lot of people think it's rude to give Grace monosyllabic or even single word answers. So that's good. But detailed yes or no. Detailed yes or no will grab the over answer where someone says something that is in addition to yes or no, or perhaps implicitly contains a positive or a negative response, but that's buried within information that's more salient, more relevant to what's on the person's mind. So a good example, or maybe a bad example, I'll get to a good example eventually. Are you going to vote in this election? I'm not going to say yes, I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say, if California hasn't fallen into the sea, that is an example of over answer for yes. I don't think California is going to fall into the sea. So clearly this person is planning to vote. Or, perhaps more relevant to the average voter, the response could be, what they could just say, are you going to vote in the election when I choose someone to vote for? It's implied there that they will choose someone to vote for, and that unlocks the condition in which they will vote. So it's a lot of words to say that detailed yes or no can grab either a simple yes or no, but it will prefer the longer over answer, and it will record that. And again, we're not trying to put Americans into tiny boxes here, so we want to give them a lot of freedom in this poll. It's going to be a very subjective poll, really. Not trying to compartmentalize anyone. I want to know, what do we want to do with the other polls or not? Like, let your political freak flag fly. That's what Grace is giving people the opportunity to do here.
Yeah, like you could build Grace out that, and she could be recording people's answers and documenting them, putting them in spreadsheets. But I think the purpose of our political polling is just to get people to start talking.
Yes. Come to the table, America. Grace will order pizza. We've proven that she can.
She can order pizza. What can't she do?
Okay, so we had talked about, keeping this nice and apolitical. And fun fact, you might remember that I said Grace is an AI. The A in AI stands for apolitical. Grace is an apolitical intelligence. She won't betray any feelings either way in any direction on the political spectrum. X-axis, Y-axis, Z-axis. Nope. Grace does not share her opinions. So let's just, we had talked. We want to see how people are feeling about America.
Was that a question to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless there's something else you want to hear from
I want
hoi polloi.
Grace needs to put her finger on the pulse of America. Get them to open up.
Okay.
So where are we at? We have the first question asking, are you going to vote?
No, the first question is, have you heard there's a big election?
Oh, have you heard that you get to vote?
Yeah. Second question is, are you going to vote in the election? And let's do a little palate cleanser here. Let's take even more pressure off these people. I'm going to go down to numbers because as you can see, we have many pre-formatted data formats for Grace to put into her form fields. She can collect shapely, clean information of many different kinds with no additional effort from people who are building her out. So I'm going to select integer. We're going to have people rate how they're feeling, but it's going to force a whole number. If Grace doesn't hear a whole number, then she will reprompt and she'll ask for a whole number. She will not round. We're not giving Grace, not letting Grace, fudge the numbers at her discretion. She wants to hear from the caller an actual whole number, an integer. So I say, how would you rate? How much do you agree with this statement? America is the best country in the world.
You could tell her to rate.
Or how are you feeling about America? How would you rate America, 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how great is America?
Yeah. And we're going to trust, we're not going to define our scale. Sometimes you really need to. You need to tell people what the numbers on the scale mean. But I think people know a 1 to 10 scale. But more on that in just a second. A scale from 1 to 10, how great is America? And remember, Grace is trying to get a whole number answer here, and that she will nudge people if they give either a non-numeric answer, or they give they try to put a 6.5 past us. That also reminds me, I forgot to do something. You remember we said Grace said no pressure, all these questions are optional. Let's make them optional. By default, Grace treats questions as required, which is the right choice most of the time. Why have the robot ask people questions if they're not good questions? If they're not, the answers to questions are not to the human user's benefit. So, but we're going to toggle them off to optional, because that's also necessary sometimes too. Information that's nice to have, or perhaps will need to be collected eventually, but you trust that someone may not feel comfortable saying it over the phone. Whatever reason you want to make a question non-required, all you have to do is toggle the optional button. And I'll keep doing that, but now every question Grace asks is optional. Okay, on a scale from 1 to 10, how great is America? Now, if you notice, Kevin, we didn't put any boundaries on this. We imply that you should answer from a scale of 1 to 10, how great is America? But we have not defined an upper or lower limit. That's because an acceptable answer to, on a scale from 1 to 10, how great is America? 1776. Perfectly acceptable answer.
They could also just say,
or look,
very great.
Maybe someone's like paying 10% attention. They had a long day working down at the mill, doing real Bruce Springsteen type jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, they say 50 because I thought Grace was asking about how many states there are. Who knows? But 50 out of 10, yeah. Well, there are a lot of days I feel America's a 50 out of 10 on the greatness scale.
Yeah. America doesn't live by your construct of 1 to 10.
That's true. That's true. England tried to make us.
Yeah.
We said no, no, we're not going metric, England. This is freeform imperial units.
We
of
go to
American,
12.
Yeah. On the jingoism scale, we go to up to infinity. Okay. So here's another feature. Number of optional questions caller must answer to proceed. Because that's another dimension of how required the information you're having Grace collect is. We could set every question to optional, but be like, this is a waste of time if someone doesn't give us at least 1 out of 3. Maybe they're a malingerer. Maybe they're not a hot lead. We could be using this to justify if someone's really interested in the business that Grace is there to do. But truly, we are letting every question be optional to our poll respondents tonight. So I'm going to set this at 0.
So I'm going to make a suggestion.
Please do.
What if we make a call and test what we have so far, or maybe add a little bit more and make a call with like a very underbuilt version of this, or a, you know, kind of like get some user testing in early and then we keep iterating.
Yeah, proof of concept. We can do that. You notice how diplomatically Kevin said that I'm boring everyone who's watching? Masterfully done.
No.
As a conversation designer, I really, really respect that. Okay, so Polo 1, it's going to be our ultimate. So yeah, let's just hop to a goodbye page.
Cool.
I'm going to make a new page called Goodbye. Call it valediction for all you word nerds, but we'll stick with goodbye today.
I don't know what that means.
It means goodbye. Saying goodbye. The saying, like a goodbye is what a valediction is. So this is going to be another outcome. The other outcome was people opting out of talking to Grace, not responding to our poll. But in this preliminary version of our poll, Grace is just going to wrap things up neatly after she's answered, after people have answered all their questions. So I'll call this outcome poll completed. I'll have Grace say, perfect, thank you, because we have done the poll. Even if we opted out of every single question, that was always allowed. So Grace will say, perfect, thank you. I appreciate you taking time to respond to our poll today.
Yeehaw.
I've never tasked Grace with saying yeehaw. Yeah, it's a good touch, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay, do you have a person in mind who's going to be our preliminary pollster?
Yeah, I can give you someone.
Okay, let me explain to our dearly beloved audience how we're going to do this. So I've made the playbook for Grace. I'm not going to make a knowledge base for Grace yet. Later on, we'll upload the entire U.S. Constitution and maybe even the federal code so that Grace can ingest that information and respond to it. Respond to questions about American law that the pollsters, the respondents may have. But we'll do that later. That's the other half of a true Grace virtual voice agent. Give her the task in the playbook and you give her knowledge in the knowledge base. We are not going to do that right now. What I am going to do is check real quick on the bot. This is the identity of Grace as a virtual voice agent. We're letting her name still be Grace today. The company she works for is America, and she is a virtual voice pollster by job title. We talked about dialing up Grace's empathy, so yeah, let's blow that out of the water.
Yeah.
Remember, Grace, this is an open-minded poll. Grace is being very sympathetic,
She has to
non-judgmental.
coax people out of their political shell.
Yeah, and she does ask at the beginning of the call, how are you? And someone's like, Grace, I've fallen down a deep well. Emergency services won't be here for another hours. She can be sympathetic about that.
Like a physical well.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll dial up Grace's empathy. and then I will start what is called a coaching session. If you've never seen Grace talk to real people before, um, coaching session is a nice way of kind of monitoring Grace's behavior. When Grace is making hundreds or thousands of calls a day or receiving hundreds of thousands of calls per day, she runs through a different platform called Gritdspace Sift. But if we do a coaching session, we can actually see how Grace, not just see how Grace interacted with the human being. We can actually give her, after the call is over, give her helpful feedback on how to be an even better digital person the next time she talks to someone. So we will start a coaching session, and the playbook that we are going to use is election polling, the one we just built out. No knowledge base for now. And
This is the number of our first victim.
we have a little bit of lag. I think I'm not sharing this tab, right? Not trying to dox anyone here. Anyway,
I think you're fine.
behind the curtain here, I am entering the number of our first respondent. And a nice thing about our poll is that people opted into it previously. That's not just AI ethics, that's good human being ethics. So we're going to call someone who has a rough idea that Grace is going to call them and ask them some red, white, and blue questions. And we'll call them now and see how it goes.
I hope the people at home can hear it.
So do I. Not even sure I can hear it. But as you can see, dear audience, Grace is calling. Did our respondent answer?
Let me see the mouse. Is this streaming? Yeah.
Well, we try to locate Grace's voice in the audiovisual maze that is the internet, which Kevin is valiantly struggling to do now.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye on this transcript. Is application capture what you wanted, maybe?
No.
And as Kevin does this maintenance, I'm not actually seeing how the conversation's going, so I'm on the edge of my seat. But
There
I
we
do
go.
see that it's still going, so that's good. That's half the battle. All right.
It's the biggest one yet.
They're not wrong. I think every 4 years we have the biggest election ever, right?
11 out of 10. What I tell you, you can't put Americans in the 1 to 10 box. They don't like the metric system.
Yeah. This is a true blue, red-blooded American. All right, cool. We got through the conversation. Grace got through the conversation. Remember what I said about agentic AI? We told Grace what to do. She dialed out to someone and she executed on the game plan.
Nice.
So let's just recap this conversation that we couldn't hear. Maybe we'll hear the next one. We'll hear from Grace one way or another later on. But let's see. Let's review. Let's review the responses to our poll. Have you heard? It says Grace. Have you heard there's a big election coming up? Our respondent has indeed heard. Say it's the biggest one yet. Are they going to vote in the election? Ooh, they're fired up. You know, I am got to do my civic duty. And on a scale from 1 to 10, how great is America? 11 out of 10. So you might recall 11 out of 10, nice whole number. Grace was listening for an integer, and Grace was not really going to put limits. Grace was going to suggest 1 to 10, but she was going to let people shoot from the hip, answer from the heart, trust their gut, just stack metaphors on top of each other to let people answer truly. Whatever number they feel about America that day, Grace is willing to ingest it as long as it's not a fraction of any kind.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So that was the lightweight poll. We could add on to this poll. Or what, are we on a roll? Should we call more people?
Let's add another question and call another person.
Okay. I could also, if you need more time to try to figure out how we can get Grace's audio coming through loud and clear, I could tell a Shaggy Dog story or something like that.
I think we just do it on speakerphone. The microphone will pick it up.
Okay.
Maybe
Kevin speaks the truth. I think.
live stream episode 3 we'll get more of the kinks worked out.
Yeah. Definitely. Without a doubt. Okay. So that was one coaching session in the books. We could review it later. Should we Right. There's actually very little before I add another question to the poll. There's actually very little to coach Grace on here because, as I said before, Grace excels at conversational repair, which she needs to refocus the conversation in one way or another, either by pausing to give people time or by repeating a question because they didn't hear it, repeating a question for clarity, or providing some additional information that someone requested on the fly in order to be better informed and proceed through the conversation. But this conversation was very on rails. We had a very willing poll respondent who was not feeling antagonistic towards Grace. So Grace didn't have to riff at all, did not have to do any conversational repair. So there's really nothing to coach on here. If Grace had been forced to improvise in order to keep the conversation going, keep it alive, then we would have seen generative AI dialogue that we could have said, Grace, this phrasing was a little awkward, or I know you meant well, but this sounds a little rude. We could have corrected that, but no need, as I've said. So let's add another poll question. So back to our playbook. Changes to Grace are instantaneous. That's one thing I love about her. We don't need to, spend hours coding out another question that we want Grace to ask, and we don't need to spend hours retraining Grace or deploying Grace. We can see, oh, that one test call went pretty well, but I see that before the next one, in the next couple of minutes, I want to add some more polling. Did you have a question that you wanted to add, Kevin? Let's try to use a data type we haven't used yet. We've used free response, kind of no holds barred, catch as catch can answering, detailed yes or no. We're good. That was actually a good example. You might remember in the call that we just had, the respondent said, I gotta do my civic duty. That's not an explicit yes, but it's definitely an implicit yes. So that's what we would have captured there as a response to the detailed yes or no. We've done integer. Do we want to think of a data type and work backwards from a question, or?
Yeah, what's a fun one?
I don't think we want to ask anyone's home address, so we're not going to use addresses. Dates.
You could just ask people.
We could ask people, what if we add some trivia to our poll and we ask about a key date in American history?
Yeah, I love this idea.
Okay. But you know what? Since we're getting a little goofy here, let's make another page. Let's put this new phase of our polling on a new page called Poll 02. This is nice separation of our playbook where we can thematically group our questions into Poll 01, the first page, and Poll 02, the second page. Things are going to get a little shaggy, a little hairy on page Poll 02. Okay. Grace can say, and now for the trivia portion. Exclamation point. She's stoked about this. She does not disclose up front that some of this will be trivia.
Oh, you forgot the now.
What's that?
Forgot the now.
Oh, thank you. Now for the trivia portion of our poll. So I think we're going to date. Let's ask about, so we are going to date and date of birth are roughly equivalent. Let's ask for a complete date. Do you want to start? Unless you have a particular noteworthy date in America that you're fond of, I think we should ask about Pearl Harbor Day.
Pearl Harbor Day? We just have when is America?
Let's ask America's birthday. How about that?
Yeah, that one.
What is America's date
Of birth?
Dating, interesting. This is conversation design. Birthday implies month and day. Date of birth implies, what's on your birth certificate. So let's actually use the date of birth field. Gives
Cool.
Grace a little more context, because Grace is actually aware of what's in her playbook, uses kind of the shape and content of her playbook to have an awareness of what kind of information can logically be expected to be exchanged,
I mean, I'm excited.
and even answer questions.
I don't know when America was born, so I'm excited to learn.
Beg your pardon?
Well,
Oof.
I'm not confident.
Okay. This one's still optional.
Thank God.
Yeah, this one's still optional.
So does that mean that America has a zodiac sign?
Yes. America's a Cancer. I'll tell you that much.
Whoa.
I mean that completely. I mean that completely in the astrological sense, not in any
Wow,
sort
Cooper,
of.
that's a pretty spicy opinion
Look,
out there of America.
I said apolitical, non-judgmental poll. I mean it in the astrological sense, not any sort of. Not doing geopolitical commentary tonight. Okay. Yeah. Let me see what else we got. One more trivia question about America. And we can do we can do a multiple choice. See how Grace handles that with very little feedback from us beforehand.
Yeah.
Grace can, on demand, Grace can read back the options for the multiple choice. Let's see what we want to do here. I don't know. It's a fun multiple choice question about America.
What do we need to know about people? Multiple choice. This is the trivia.
Yeah.
Should we ask them who the first president was? And then give them multiple choice?
First president.
Or best president? I know you had an opinion on that earlier.
I do have an opinion on best president. If we're going to ask best president, I feel that I would need to make a 46 item multiple choice list, which I have the enthusiasm for, but I feel we don't have the time. How about which one of the following is not a state?
Yeah, perfect.
Which one of the following is not a U.S. state? Switch this to multiple choice. And I do believe we'll have to have Grace read it out to begin with, because that actually is the question. But I'll add my questions first.
Okay, so you're going to put it one in the question form, Phil, and then have each one have an option to be picked.
Yes, and then because the options are there, if someone says, hey, wait, what are the choices again? Grace will be able to do conversation repair and provide the options from the context, which is, we list them out for her here. So Grace knows what's going on in the playbook that is telling her how to do the job. So California.
Yeah.
East Virginia.
That's our made up one.
You tell me, man. North Dakota. That's gonna, people are gonna really have to think about that one, I think.
It's hard to trip people up on this.
I think these are reasonable fake outs. North Dakota and New Mexico, people are gonna be like, I don't know. I don't know, that doesn't sound as familiar. When they hear it,
Old Mexico. We could just put the states of matter.
I think 4 is good. 4 is a standard multiple choice number.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so but let's actually have Grace ask the question. And to influence how Grace's TTS, her text to speech, that is her voice, where she's speaking out what she needs to, either reading from a script or generating dialogue, starts out as text hidden away in the computer, and Grace verbalizes it. That's text to speech. But anyway, to force the kind of cadence that I hear in my head, I'm going to use hard stops, full stops. So California, period. East Virginia, period. North Dakota, period. New Mexico.
You should have a fifth option that she doesn't vocalize to just say, these are all states. Or how do you feel about that?
All right, maybe yeah, that's a good point. And Kevin's latching on to conversation design really quickly here. Sometimes
All
it's
right.
not what you say, it's what you don't say. What's that quote? Was it about like some jazz legend? You gotta hear the notes he's not playing.
Oh,
It's like Miles Davis, maybe.
I thought it was like a Mozart quote that was like about the space in between the notes.
You know who didn't hear any of the notes he was playing? Beethoven.
It's a fun fact. Should we put that in the poll?
No.
It's not even a question. It's
He
just
wasn't
something Grace
American.
says.
Beethoven has no place in this poll. He wasn't American. You know what was American? The film franchise Beethoven.
Oh,
Those are good movies. St. Bernard, big old fluffy guy. None of the above, all of the above.
nice.
Okay,
All right.
so yeah, Grace is not going to say you can answer those, but like I said, I'm not putting any Americans in any sort of ideological box. They can say what they think is true. All right, do we want to ask another trivia question? Or now that we've asked 2 trivia questions, do we pull out to another respondent?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so stitching together our playbook now. Polo 1, we'll go into page Polo 1 with our serious content. Or rather, our more open-ended content will go into Polo 2, which is our trivia content. And after Polo 2, we'll go into goodbye. All right, so Grace is ready now. And if anything is not correct about this, that's human error. That's my problem. Because Grace is just that easy to update, refine, adjust, and redeploy. So Grace is ready to call someone else now, actually.
Cool.
So let's look. I'm going to start another coaching session.
Oh, we probably can't do it over speakerphone because they're calling other people, right? Like we have to do it in the browser.
That
That person's phone would have to be here.
is true. Do we have any solution to hearing Grace?
Let's see if I can get it to work. You can regale the audience of another wonderful aspect of Grace,
Yes.
and we'll see if we can get.
And will, to the best
Oh,
of your
that's going
ability,
I'm going
preserve,
to take this opportunity
protect,
not to ask what my country can do for me, but to ask what I can do for my country. And what I can do is talk more about Grace. So some deep Grace lore. I've been involved with Grace since Grace was in utero. Very proud of that fact. I used to work in the cartoon voiceover business, producing voiceovers for animated shows you both may and definitely have not seen. But then I moved over to Grace and did the project I'm perhaps most proud of in my life, was collecting the original Grace data set. Grace's voice had to come from somewhere. And the way that TTS works, text to speech, like everything else at Gridspace, Grace's TTS ability is built on a model that Gridspace constructed in-house. We do not use third-party vendors for any of our models. We're very proud of that. We think we can do the best job possible. And also it's very important for data security. We own our own models. People who employ Grace have our 100% guarantee that their data or their customers' data is not being used to train any models, because we don't train our models that way. And just as importantly, if not more importantly, we can guarantee people that information that passes through Grace is not being exposed to the internet at large, not being sold off in any way. So anyway, long story short, you need data to drive a model, and to make Grace speak, you need a lot of recordings of human voice. So I spent many, many hours working with a voice actor to collect the data that would become Grace. And thanks to computer mathemagic, once you have all that data running on a Gridspace model, basically effectively clones the voice, or becomes the world's best mimic, and sounds just like the person who donated the voice data, or granted us the voice data, to become Grace.
Granted us the voice data. That's a very cool.
That's also not correct. By all ethical AI guidelines, data was collected to become Grace.
So I don't see a reason why the audience shouldn't be able to hear Grace's voice on this coaching session. So without any other levers to pull, let's give it a shot.
Ooh boy. Okay. And as always, forgive me while we have someone else ready to call.
I thought you had a list.
Yeah, said list I may need to pull up. You can pull up said list.
Yeah. Where's it at?
Chat, don't listen too closely.
Is it on my account?
What's that?
Is it on my account?
Actually, how about we do this? I know for a fact that a number of our pre-opted in poll respondents live in Kevin's phone contacts. So if you want to pick one of our respondents, that was the pre-polling. Are you willing to be polled by an AI, by an apolitical intelligence? Yeah, but to avoid any exposing the personal information of any hardworking Americans who have volunteered to speak to Grace, enter their official. And now we're going to call them. Back in action. Will our respondent answer the call? What do you think? You a gambling man? They can answer?
I guess no. But I've had a lot of.
They answered.
Oh, voicemail.
It's a voicemail. We're gonna end that call. We're gonna get out of here.
All right. I'm guessing this person agreed, correct?
What's that?
Guessing this person agreed.
That person did agree.
Cool. Let's do it.
So I'll just restart things here.
I'm disappointed that it's not. The audio isn't coming through. Don't know why.
We just don't have our local machine muted, do we? But anyway, this is a good opportunity since we received voicemail on that call, which in a real outbound calling campaign for Grace, that kind of outcome would be set aside and noted for callback purposes and also just for statistics. But since that was not a real thing, not a real coaching session, I'm going to have Grace forget that coaching session, which we can always do if either there is no new information gained from the coaching session, or if perhaps we change our mind about instruction that we had given to Grace. Be like, you know what? I told you the wrong thing, Grace. Forget what I said. But anyway, we'll pull up another one. And
Okie dokie.
Kevin will enter in.
Our super
Very-
secret contact. A pure citizen that.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I think you probably figured this out already. When Grace is put to work doing high volume outbound calling, she runs off a tool called AutoDialer, which you can set very specific parameters for who you call, when you call them, how often you try to reach them, and all of that good stuff. We are not doing that today, just because mostly our respondent pool is not that big. All right.
Yeah, we're doing it by hand.
Let's call respondent number 3. This looks like another voicemail to me,
Yeah.
which just is disappointing because this respondent, if I know who we're talking about, is uses their fancy electric vehicle to, play calls at loud volume and drive. So we'll forget that session a little later. Hopefully, yeah. Who's a stone cold lock for gonna answer their phone? This is a good one. This respondent is a very busy person, but hopefully never too busy for Grace.
But also very American.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's say this respondent is president material. Over 35. So
Born in America.
born in the USA.
Stately.
Yeah. and just the kind of person you could relax knowing that they've got a handle on this. They know the score. But like I said, very busy individual. See if they answer the phone.
I'm doing pretty well.
Real chatty Cathy.
All right.
This could still be an elaborate voicemail ruse.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Like I said, this person's very clever. Heard
On
about the
TV.
election. That's good. Oh, this is gonna be the first trivia respondent. I forgot.
How great is America? Let's see. Oof, 5.
This person woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Wrong side of America. July 4th. Is that what you had in mind?
Yeah, Kevin.
There's lots of dates America could have been born.
Well, this person may be slightly wrong, maybe about 200 years off on the year, but who among us is perfect?
I think it's reborn every year. No, Mexico.
Okay, well, yeah, 0 for 2 on the trivia, but you know that's valuable polling data. It's
It's true.
a pretty small sample size, but I'd say we learned something.
Do you think that this person is still presidential material after that?
Yeah. I mean, think of all the presidential blunders we've seen from people who actually held the office. These are pretty minor.
You're
When
right.
you look at all the blunders that
It's a
people
pretty forgiving job.
crashed out of the race for making. Weird yells. The vice president like argued with a kindergartner about how to spell potatoes. These are minor transgressions. No one's political career should be derailed for thinking America only started existing in the 50s. But look, this is quality data. Who are we to say that any of this is really wrong? These are
Maybe he's on to something. Let's see.
soulful answers.
July 4th, 1955. Let's see what happened. On this day.com.
People probably had a nice little barbecue. It was the atomic age. The Second World War was behind us. Rock and roll was just being invented.
It's true.
Banner year 1955 in some ways.
Not much. A famous conductor was his birthday. But yeah, that's it.
Famous conductor whose name doesn't bear mentioning. Can't be that famous. All right.
Exactly.
Look, that was a very helpful respondent, model American, if you ask me. How are you feeling about our polling? Do you want to? I say don't mess with it. I think this poll is really good. It's really gonna make us a snapshot of America.
I think it's
Seeing
great.
what's what in the motherland. Let's just call someone else.
Let's do one more call.
Okay, at least one.
Who do we call?
What's that?
Who do we call? Let's
Iowa.
call my dad.
What's that?
Let's call my dad.
Time zone is your dad in?
East Coast, 9:30.
All right. Calling Kevin's dad. Still not going to share that phone number with the world, though.
He has been
Kevin's father Kevin.
he has been unvetted for this. So who knows? This could be The last live stream we ever do.
Does your father have any concept of how you spend your weekdays?
He doesn't ask a lot of questions.
Well, that's good. He has to answer questions now. All right. Maybe Kevin's dad's going to answer the phone? Huh?
God, I wish I could hear this. What happened?
Session ended. I would guess coaching sessions are not what we would call, the true statistical snapshot of a call. Again, that's on the platform GridSpace Swift, and coaching sessions are more of a tool for making Grace better at her job. So session ended probably means that your dad accidentally hung up. This was not anything that would have really overloaded Grace.
He probably hung up, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think he politely blew Grace off. He said he was going to search for Grace online.
He probably just
Good
thought
luck for searching for something just Grace.
he probably thought it was like a robocall
Yeah,
and then got bored and just hung up.
he wasn't wrong, but like I said, AI ethics. Grace is not doing anything untoward, keeping it all in the family.
All right, that was a
You might notice that Kevin opted his father into being a poll respondent, but I'm gonna allow that.
yeah.
All right, we should do it. We should get Grace to connect with one more hardworking American, and I think we can call it a night with what our sample size of 3 respondents. That's enough to extrapolate from.
Yeah, I'm trying to see who else was on your list that we could call.
The person I call Big Dog.
Who do you call? Oh, Big Dog agreed.
I guarantee we're.
Oh, that was a different Big Dog.
Yeah, I guarantee we're talking about 2 different people.
Wait, how do you know Big Dog?
That's an amazing personality test, which I'm really gonna. Maybe I'm gonna work that around the office. I'm gonna make allusions to something that Big Dog did. And see what each of my valued coworkers, who they think I'm talking.
Who they
about.
think Big Dog is.
Yeah, all right. Let's call the coworker I call Big Dog. Big Dog was a hesitant poll respondent, but agreed without any coercion.
They got a Big Dog agenda.
Big Dog also drives a car that's good at answering phone calls and maybe on her commute home. 6:30 p.m. Cutting out early today, I guess.
To the Big Dog house.
Yeah. Oh, Big Dog. Big Dog didn't answer the phone. Who's a sure thing? Do you even want to like peer over into
This was my Big Dog.
What's that?
This was my Big Dog.
No way. Hard disagree. No. Absolutely not. I don't know. You could peer over the balcony and see which of our respondents is still
Let me
burning the midnight oil and willing to take a call.
yell at the workers below.
I guess we forgot we have a chat. One of our respondents may self-identify. All right, what do we all think about Kevin?
All right, hang on.
Hang on. What's this person's nickname? Flacco?
Yes.
Oh yeah, actually. I'd call this person Flacco if I could get away with it.
This person wants to be a Big Dog.
I could get away with it. This person would absolutely not mind being called Flacco.
Well, this person, whatever we want.
We didn't ask if they thought Dolly Parton should be president. Wanted to, but I did say that I would not.
So obvious.
Did say I would not insert any of my own political biases into these proceedings.
Did Big Dog pick up?
This is not Big Dog. This is Flacco, who just self-identified in their voicemail message, by the way,
Man,
but did not answer their
amateur
phone.
move. They do. He does has this. He has the same.
I thought you were
voice-
gonna shout over the phone, "Hey,
What?
Flacco,
I wasn't.
Flacco, answer your phone."
He's just coming out of the bathroom.
Also, Flacco tends to wear headphones, listening to white noise, I believe.
Well, he was walking around. So. All right. Who else is on our list?
Well, can you speak in coded language? Both of our classmates from our Wilderness Travel course,
Oh, great.
the ones we have not already called.
Yeah, I got it.
Here's the fun thing: the limited pool of respondents that I just told Kevin about includes 2 non-citizens, 2 non-U.S. citizens.
Wait,
Yeah,
we've called all but one person who was in our class.
incorrect. One has joined us from Hong Kong, and the other has joined us from Great Britain.
All right.
But you know, we place no judgment on these non-citizens either. I say American is as American does, right?
Nobody's perfect.
But yeah, I'll be excited. I hope we can get the opinions of some expats. I have a feeling I know who you called. I did say a lot of people think it's rude to be monosyllabic with Grace, but not everyone. Some people are busy.
That's true. This person is very busy.
Ooh, 2 syllables. 2 syllables from our respondent. Consistent. All right.
Very economic.
So, like, yeah, the preamble, you said it's a lot of preamble. It is, but it isn't. It didn't take Grace too long to read that
No.
necessary, helpful locating information. Ooh, 3
Yeah.
syllables. 3 utterances, 3 syllables. Love this respondent.
No.
4 responses, 4 syllables.
It's so economical.
Incredible. Oh, that was 2 syllables, but they also are feeling very patriotic. No,
Yeah.
11 is 3 syllables. Excuse me. I bet we can count on the non-citizens to know America's date of birth.
Yeah.
1 out of 3 ain't bad.
Ooh.
All right, so you see that Grace is reprompting. She's hoping to hear a month, a day, and a year. Ooh, yes, I told you.
Nice.
The non-American citizens who are still our American brothers and sisters come and... Okay. Grace has decided to transcribe that a little differently.
I love that she held his feet to the fire. It's like, I'm gonna need a full date.
Grace got the bicentennial somehow out of this, so that's fine. Wow, aced it.
Wow, give this man citizenship. That's what I say.
Yeah.
He deserves it more than I do.
Yeah, this is Exhibit A and fast tracking this person
Yeah.
to, getting their US passport. Love it. All right. So we talked, what was that? 3 respondents? 4? 3?
Yeah. I think we got 3 solid phone calls, and then my dad, who just got mad and hung up, I think.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
That was honestly best
Maybe
case
he
scenario.
really is going to investigate Grace. Maybe we should call him later. But anyway, from this data, which Grace has gathered, which, like I said, we're not going to retain out of respect for AI ethics and privacy of our valued respondents, my takeaways from this data that we have gained.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good about the future. I'm feeling good about the future relations between human Americans and robot Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Because Grace is, I would say, like the president is the chief citizen of the United States. Grace is the chief AI of the United States, or the chief synthetic citizen of the United States. So I'm feeling great about that. And I think we might have a robot president one day. This went so well that I think, I don't know, as soon as like 2028, we might be voting for an AI to be our president. I don't think an AI could do worse than some of our previous presidents. Not gonna get like, you're not gonna get like shot first day on the job.
Yeah.
Not gonna die in the bathtub. So there's that. And they're not gonna do anything that, you know, like was cool in the 1700s that we find pretty untoward and unsavory today.
I mean,
Yeah, we could have an AI president. I could see it. It might be Grace. It could totally be Grace.
just be a QA bot of Grace loaded with all the decisions presidents have made previously.
It could. That could. Grace could be citing precedent. Could be citing precedent of executive branch decisions. Could maybe be citing the case law of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe Grace will be on the bench before or after
She's
being president of these United States. Or I don't know, maybe Grace could be Attorney General of either a state to begin with, say California, on her way to becoming president of the United States.
yeah, I could see it.
Could see it. All right.
Well, yeah, if you guys have any suggestions for things you would like to see us live stream and build out, or you can comment and give suggestions as we do it, put it in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can see our future live streams and other content we release.
There's really no reason Grace couldn't order a pizza during every single live stream. So maybe we'll bring back pizza ordering just as something that happens. A little feature of the show next time, perhaps.
Yeah, could be a gimmick. If we get a certain amount of viewers, Grace automatically calls and orders us a pizza.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, if you're eligible to vote in the United States, don't forget to vote. It's a lot of fun. They give you a nice little sticker.
It is a good sticker.
I wish you got a shot of whiskey. Like, here's my ballot. Give me my bourbon.
Then people would be voting more than once.
That'd be so cool. Cool.
Comment
Ballot
below
in,
if you think
ballot out.
we
bourbon
should
in.
have whiskey shots.
And a hot dog. You vote in person, you get a hot dog. Costco hot dog, $1.50.
Subscribe if you think you should get a hot dog and a shot of whiskey when you vote.
Yep. All right, till next time, we've been Gridspace. I'm Cooper Johnson, voice user experience designer. Co-pilot has been Kevin. And of course, this is all about our dear friend and virtual agent, Grace. See you next time.
Adios.
Play us off, Kevin.